V12.1 introductory demo. As in previous of these demos, I'm going to walk through a quick overview of what we've added to Iron Speed Designer, and then we'll get to the meat of the presentation where my partner Carol will be giving a live demo of many of these features, and then we'll wrap up by taking your questions and hopefully providing some useful answers and help along the way. I would advise you to get those questions in as soon as possible. We generally answer these in a first-come, first-served basis, so get those cards and letters in as soon as possible. In version 12.1, we've continued the same theme that we started in version 12, which was to make the tool itself, Iron Speed Designer, simpler, better, faster, more powerful. And you'll see a lot of improvements to the tool in this release. If you're new to Iron Speed Designer, you can and really don't quite know how it works, you're welcome to attend one of our Friday morning webinars where we give a full and complete demonstration of Iron Speed Designer in our crash course. You can sign up for those. They're free of charge on our website. First feature that we've added, and perhaps one of the most powerful, is we have supercharged the application wizard. Now, as before with the application wizard, you start by picking the database tables that you want to generate pages for, and then the specific page types that you want to generate. What we've added, though, are these features over here on the right where you can select the individual panels for each page that you're generating, and within a panel, the specific fields that you would like to include within those panels. That gives you complete full control over what gets generated the first time right out of the box. So if you spend a little more time in the app wizard here, you'll save a lot of time in going in and adding panels, removing panels, adding and removing fields, and so forth, because you can set it up so that it generates right the first time or as close as possible to what you're really looking to do. If you are attentive and look at the list of page types here, you'll notice that we have actually simplified some of the page types and done a little bit of consolidation, so even that has become simpler here. So, as before, we haven't taken away that big image that used to be over here on the right where you could actually see what these pages look like. All you have to do is just hover over the individual page types here, and a pop-up tooltip, as it were, will appear showing you the kind of a representation of what that particular page type will look like. The next thing we did is that we added field column or fixed column headings here for tables. So you can see how I've got this highlighted in red here. What that means is as you scroll the table up and down, the column headings, order, product, amount, and so forth, stay fixed on the page. That way you always know what you're looking like. They don't scroll off the page. That's particularly useful in tabular presentations. Next up, we upgraded the query wizard. As you know, for a long time, our query wizard was a very simplistic tool. It allowed you to create where clauses that were joined together by ands, and that's about it. So you could have A and B and C and D and so forth, but you really couldn't do other things without going to an external query of some sort, such as a database view. Well, we've expanded the query wizard here to add certain things like the OR, so you can do A or B and C now, for example, and you can also group clauses together using parentheses here. So that gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of how you actually construct that query within the confines of Iron Speed Designer. Of course, it's not meant to be a replacement for an actual database view, so if you need to do something a little more in-depth or extreme, please do continue to use database views for those, but I think you'll find in a lot of cases where you would have used a database view, you can actually build those queries inside of Designer itself. Next, we enhanced the batch wizard. The batch wizard, as you know, performs operations across Iron Speed Designer, across your application in batch by making batch changes or global changes to your application. That's still the way it works, but if you look over here on the left in a little more detail, you'll see that we've added some examples. For example, initializing an audit trail, adding encryption or decryption to fields, If you look at the where clause, you can filter by logged in user, by session variable, by URL parameter, and so forth. So what we've done is that we've built in more different types of examples of what you can do with this. The numbers in parentheses here indicate how many different examples. So for example, sorry if I keep saying for example, the number 2 is in parentheses here for encrypt. That means that there are 2 different examples of doing data encryption on a field. Next up is the streamlined configuration wizard. The configuration wizard is displayed when you drag a panel from the toolbox onto your page, basically adding a new panel onto your page. Of course, we need to know how to configure that, so a configuration wizard pops up. Before, that configuration wizard was a multi-step process, so we've distilled it down to 3 steps, and I'm going to highlight 2 of those for you here. The first is the select step, and in a second I'll show you the field step, because we've made major simplifications and enhancements to those particular steps, as well as eliminating a lot of extra steps you don't see here. First, it says, I am a detail panel of, in this case, products table control. And there might be multiple of these listed here if there are different options depending on what's already on your page and what's available. So you simply say, okay, well, I'm a detailed panel from this table, and then you say, this is the type of layout I want. I want a basic table, or maybe I want to add or an edit record or whatever. And you can see, of course, the pro forma of what that might look like over here. So that's all it takes to select. Sometimes it'll say I'm a master panel, depending on the different foreign key relationships that are available for what you've selected out of the toolbox to drop on your page. So this sets up the entire relationship, essentially binding everything together for you. I'm a master panel, I'm a detail panel, and what's your parent, what's your child. All you have to do is select what it is and the type of panel you want displayed. Moving on now to the field step. Instead of having multiple steps out here, it's a nice convenient chart that you fill out. You say, well, for the order ID, I want that displayed, I want it searchable, and I want it filterable. These other fields like amount, unit price, and so forth, I only want to display. And maybe I can sort on those and so forth, but not filter. So all you have to do is just check off what you want, and you're good to go. That's about all there is to this wizard. It is much simpler now. The configuration step works the same. That's where you configure all the other options for the panel type. We've made application generation faster, in some cases up to 300 times or 300%, 3 times faster than it was before. This is specifically referring to the initial application creation when you first create an application from scratch. We've also made significant improvements to the build and rebuild process for Oracle applications. So we've sped up the way that we deal with the Oracle database. So if you're an Oracle user, you'll find in general Iron Speed Designer works much, much faster for you. Next, we streamlined the Application Explorer. Many of you create dual mode applications, both web and mobile, so we've separated all of those pages into different groups so that you have the web set of pages and then the mobile set of pages. And so you can look at those and the common pieces and so forth for web separately from mobile. That way they're not all mixed in and kind of jumbled together, so it's a lot easier to know exactly what you're looking at and easier to find those sorts of things. And going along in that same line, we've also separated the style sheets for both web and mobile. So you'll see here's the Tequila style sheet for the web and the Tequila mobile style sheet for mobile applications. We've teased apart these style sheets so that they load faster. So if somebody's using it in a mobile setting on a mobile phone, for example, you're not going to load in all the classes for the web pages that aren't needed. You're only going to load in the mobile classes. Same thing for the web. If you're on the web, you're not going to load in all the mobile classes. So it's a little more streamlined in terms of application speed and loading. And next, we've simplified the toolbox. So the toolbox is where you drag things from the toolbox onto your page. We've simplified the naming here, so we have panels, charts, fields and labels, filters and sorting controls, sums and count controls, Google Maps, and so forth. And we've broken some of these out in a little more granularity here to make things easier to to find. We've also simplified what's inside each of these groups, so there's not as much clicking. It's not as hierarchical as before, so you'll find things a lot easier to find and therefore quicker to drag onto your application. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Carol, who will show many of these features in action. Carol?
Thank you, Alan. Let's see if my screen is visible. Yeah, it should be up now. Okay, so let me go through all these features and show how it really looks on the runtime. So here is the designer, and as you can immediately see, the application explorer consists from those three parts Alan just mentioned. And I already created certain pages to get started, so to save some time. And you can see that all the mobile pages right now are placed in the presentation layer colon mobile, while the web pages are still sit in the presentation layer colon web. Also, we have the section for common files. What are common files? Well, most of the shared controls, such as base application page, base application record control, and so on, different configure pages, different pages which serve, such as like forbidden page, for example, or some other components, pagination as well. So all these type of things I sit in the shared folder. They are common, most of them, so they are shared by both mobile and web part. Now, one of the important things to understand about the Application Explorer is that actually the folder, the physical folder, for example, for categories, is the only folder. It's one folder. If I go to Windows Explorer right here, this is my application, which I just created, you can see that my categories folder has all kinds of pages. It has mobile pages and has web pages. So physically, they're in the same folder. They're not separated. However, it's slightly different for the style sheet. As Alan mentioned, one of the things we did for this release, we separated the style sheet for mobile and web pages. And I'll explain why we did so. So you can see that the folders Tequila and Tequila Mobile are actually, there's two different physical folders. So on the Windows Explorer, it will look like this. You have App Themes folder, of course, and then you have Tequila and Tequila Mobile. Tequila, in this case, is the name of the theme. And both of them have a style sheet. Style sheet organized the same way as the before. We have generated base styles.css, where all the styles generated by Iron Speed Designer are placed. And we have empty style sheet styles.css, where you need to place your customizations. These style sheet never replaced or modified even while you migrate your application. Now, why did we divided those two style sheets? Well, we wanted to make page load, especially on the mobile devices, faster. Page load depends on several things. One of them is how fast is your query, and another one, how much information you need to pass, how many bytes are coming to your device. And of course, the style sheet is always loaded when you first open the application. Now, there is no need, if you look, for example, on the mobile page on your phone, there is no need to load all the styles specific for web. And I can illustrate that if we go to the web style sheet over here and look through all the styles, you can see that we have, actually, 1 second, let me show you line numbers. So you can see that there are 2,401 row in this style sheet. So that's how many different web-specific styles we have there. But in the comparison, if you look at the mobile style sheet, you will see that we have here just about 900 rows. So when you load your page, mobile page on your phone, you would save yourself from loading this extra 2,400 lines of the web styles, thus making the page loads faster. So that was my reason. Also, it makes life a bit more simpler and a bit more convenient, because if you want to modify something for your web page, you go to the web portion of the style sheet, and if you need to make changes to your mobile page, you go here, so it's easier to find. Now, another thing which slightly changed is how you add new page. Of course, you can do the same thing as always. You can right-click on your folder and add new page right here. But also, we've got a tiny a dialog over here in the main menu where you can click page and add a page, and you can select which page you're adding. Will it be web page or will it be mobile page? But when you select it, it will ask you where do you want to place it. And here you have the list of all the folders you already have in your application. But you're not limited to those folders. You can type in here a new folder like ABC, for example, and type the name of your page. So adding a new page into the folder you want is actually get a bit more convenient. Now, if you see on the top of the designer right now, you don't see live preview button anymore. You have database tab and or button and layout editor, but no live preview. So is it gone? No, it's actually not. In fact, it's actually improved. So to see live preview, all you need to do is to click this green arrow, which will say preview and the page you selected. So for example, right now I'm selected to the categories page, but I also can select anything as usual, like for example controls. Of course, you can run application as before. To run application, you click this arrow button, run application. But when you run application, you cannot specifically, for example, take a look at your master page or at your ICX page or to any page which requires, for example, primary key to get passed as a URL parameter. But live preview allows all of the above. Like for example, let me see how my pagination actually looks. So I'll go to my shared folder, find, for example, pagination modern, why not, and click this run button. What will happen, the new kind of live preview will open in the default browser. Most of the time it would be Internet Explorer, but there is a way to change it if you don't like or specifically dislike Internet Explorer and you really want to show everything, for example, in Google Chrome or something, then it's configurable. In my case, it's still Internet Explorer. Let me hold on. Let me minimize my. Okay, so so it will open the window Internet Explorer, but it won't be just running the application. It will do all the type of massaging you will see from live preview. So here is my. Let me make it a bit smaller so I can put it on the center of the screen. So here is the pagination, which I wanted to see. And obviously it's ICX control, but it's still shown on the browser because what we do is we wrap it into some empty page where you can see only control itself. What is also interesting, you can open as many windows as you want. For example, right before the webinar, I also opened the window for my categories page, and it's live. I can go here through the menus, for example, from category to order details, etc. And I also opened my model page. And again, as you expect from live preview, mobile page shown as it could be like mobile. Again, we recommend actually using Internet Explorer. It will even say it here that it's for mobile pages specifically, it's the best choice because in other browsers there are some not ideal styling effects of showing page as you can see it now because it's scaled and it's wrapped in the special iframe. All of that perfectly works in IE. Some of the things would be looking slightly odd in the Google Chrome, although of course it's just a preview. On runtime, you will see it normally as it should. But here you can see my page live and beautiful. So this is about live preview. So it's not gone; it's just become better. It has all the same functionality, but it allows you to keep those windows open while you are changing something on layout and then open another window. Now, let me go to Application Wizard now and create some more pages. So we will see how this all new functionality in Application Wizard works. So that's what you see first when you get to the Pages step, and I can skip previous steps because the previous steps actually didn't change. They're the same as it was before, as they were before. Now on the Pages step, you first see the usual list of databases and tables in them. But let me create, for example, some pages for orders table. So I select this table. Now I can select any page I want. And I'll start, for example, with add record page. Immediately you can see that I can create a record page for orders, but also if I want, I can have order details child panel. For example, I don't want on my add page child panel because maybe I want my add page to be open in model pop-up, so I want it to be smaller. But on the edit record page, I do want my child panel, and maybe I want also my many-to-many panel for products. Similarly, I might want to have for the show record page even more. I might want to show my parent record. Orders table has two parents, basically. It's actually three parents. It has foreign key pointing to customers, to sales representative, and to shippers in this particular database. So I might not care about shippers at all, but I want to see my customer and my sales rep. But you can see there are three different sales rep over here. Why it is so? We'll hover over them. And when I go to these guys, I would notice that I have different fields which kind of specified for those sales reps, because I have three different foreign keys for those guys. So maybe I will select one of them, and maybe I will select the products many-to-many. As you notice, I can also select the fields over here. For example, I can say that, oh, for my customers panel, I want to show all the fields except, I don't want all the information, I don't want fax for some reason. And maybe for my sales rep, I don't know, I want to have ID, whatever. And now I also want my table page, which is detail in row. Again, I can select whatever I want to have in row. Maybe I want only my child's panel inside. I don't want parents for some reason, or other way around. It's my flexibility. I select only what I need, and maybe that's about it. I might not need anything else. The same way, by the way, it behaves for model pages. You can preview which page you're creating. But if, for example, I create my show table and let's say show record will suggest me to have child as well, the same way as it was for the web pages. Now, when I click finish, I will get those pages created, and all of the panels I wanted will be there. So that's one of the ways how you create the panels, exactly configuring from get-go the way you want to see them, meaning that you don't want certain panels because they are not important, or you don't need them at the runtime, or you want other panels, and right from the Application Explorer you are able to configure them exactly this way. Previously, Iron Speed Designer will kind of think for you and will try to select different panels for you so that you will see them. But of course, when you have a lot of relationship, we couldn't include like 15 different tabs over there. It will slow the performance of the page, so we will randomly select 3 of them, or semi-randomly. Now you are at control of this process, so you won't get those panels which you don't want, and quite the opposite, you will get those which you do want. So this is my pages which was created, and you can see that right here, for example, I've got exactly those detail panels which I selected, which was a customer parent, it was sales rep parent, and that was many-to-many. So that's the 3 controls I selected for this particular page. So that's one way. There's another way. You can, of course, drag and drop panels. So let me go here and create a couple of more pages, which I will use right now for sales rep. I will just create show record and the table without any details or anything. I will drag and drop those details from the toolbox, so you will see how the configuration wizard works. What I will make sure, though, that my table page has the record for show record, and it does. Also, you can see that my table will be also scrolling with the fixed header, and we will see in a minute how it behaves on the runtime. So all my options are set properly. Now, I didn't select any details for those, and the reason why I didn't do it is because I want to drag and drop those guys from the toolbox to show your configuration wizard. Okay, give it a second. Okay, we've got those pages. So now I will go to my show record page for the sales representative, and let me move my button slightly down, and I will get here a couple of other panels. So which panels I will do? I will go to the toolbox, select panels section, and I will drag and drop also sales rep panels. Sales representative table, and I can kind of go to database tab to illustrate what I'm saying right now, has the foreign key which points to itself. This foreign key is reports to. So basically, this foreign key points back to the primary key of the sales rep table. This kind of allows you to see who is reporting to me. I mean, all the sales representative who reports to their manager. So let's do this. Let's first go to my toolbox and drop here the sales representative panel, which would be my master. So that's somebody whom I report to. So it says that it's a master panel of this existing record control by the key which is reports to. So I am right now will show my manager to this particular record, and of course for that record, because I can have in this design only one manager, because it's one foreign key, it would be record control. Now I can configure any options for this control over here, and also I can select what I want to show, and maybe in this particular case I don't know, don't care about the reports to field of my manager, and I might I don't know, I'm just randomly unselect a couple of fields. Hire date of my manager, maybe I don't need those, but others I want, so that's my panels. So you can see those panels which I unchecked, they went down, they are available, I can check them back. For example, I want to check sales rep ID, now it's included. And I might want to sort it differently, so I might want it in the very beginning of the column 2, now it will be in the beginning of the column 2, and click finish. By the way, as long as I mentioned, if I go back, go inside this panel, you can see that in my column 2, that guy, which I said will be in the beginning, is really in the beginning, and you can see that I removed the fax from here exactly as I said when I was configuring it. Now let me drop the second panel, also for sales rep, and that's become more interesting now because I already have two different records. Now I can see here that I can have a master panel to any of those two, or detail panel for any of those two. In my case, I want a detail for the original record, so it would be detail for sales rep record control, the first guy, which you can see over here. And because I can have a bunch of people who reports to me, that would be a table. And yet again, I can configure some options. For example, I don't want my detail table to be scrolling, because there most likely will be only 2 or 3 people, so there is no need for scrolling table. And again, I can select here which fields I want and which I do not, and which fields are involved in search. For example, I want first name also to be searchable, and maybe I want to have filter also for the first name. And possibly I completely, I don't know, don't care about what and launch in this case. So I will unselect those guys. So now they are available right here, but not included. Now I click finish for that, and it will get me a warning. Actually, it will tell you, do you want to save my modified option as default? Because what happens when I change the options on this panel, I might have them set as default for any other panel created either through the configuration wizard or through the application wizard, or it was just one-time change for this particular panel. In this case, I don't want to save as default because scrolling table I want to keep as default. Let me also apply here tabs. And now let's run the page and see what we got. Okay, they will build it. And after that, we'll call the .NET compiler. Some people sometimes say, oh, I have a very large application and my compile is very slow. Why Designer is slow? Well, I just can tell you up front, compiling is not something Designer does. It's done by Visual Studio Compiler or .NET compiler, depending on the configuration. So let me go to my table control first and select, for example, Nancy Anderson. If I look at the page of Nancy Anderson, this is my record. And down there, there's 2 guys which I dropped. Here is Andrew Fuller. Nancy Anderson reports to Andrew Fuller. But here, all the people who report to Anderson, unfortunately, nobody reports to Andy Anderson. Andy Anderson is not a manager. However, when I select, for example, another guy who would be, in this case, my Steve Buchanan. Steve Buchanan is more important guy than Nancy. He also reports to Fuller, but he has a bunch of people reporting to him, so you can see both of them here. And as you can see, it's pretty easy now to configure this type of things. And it's actually not very easy situation because you have foreign key pointing to itself, and to understand who is master, who is detail, and what a relationship is kind of not obvious and tricky, but in the configuration wizard, we can actually try to make it simple when you literally see, okay, I want panel, who depends on this panel the following way. Now, after we went through this, let me also actually, by the way, while we are at that, the fixed header, you can see this, the header, it stays put, and the records, I can scroll down, they go on under the header, and you can see all this who is who on the column. Similar, for example, if I go to my categories, gallery, I don't want gallery, I wanted the table page, sorry. The table page, to begin similar situations, I can see my headings here, and my columns go under them. Those headings which are sortable are kind of marked with this blue color in this case, depending on the theme. And the last thing here I wanted to show is, remember when I dropped the child for, and let me select my Buchanan, because we remember Buchanan is the guy, sales representative. Remember, I configured filter and search for the first name, and it's easy to see now because if I start typing something like N, I will see auto type ahead for the searchable N field over here, so I can search and get my N docsword. So configuration wizard does exactly that. It configures your panels, and it allows you to configure everything, and it's pretty straightforward now. Last wizard, actually not last, but almost, which I wanted also to show will be the query wizard. And let me go to my orders page because it will be slightly more interesting here. And for my orders page, I will click on the property sheet and select my order table. Actually, you know what? Let's do it slightly more interesting. Let's go back to our sales rep and drag yet another panel, and this will be panel for orders. I will drag it over here, my panel for orders, and it could be, as you can see, detail of any of the sales rep controls I have now, but more than this, it could be also related by different fields, such as sales rep or created by, etc. But I want in this case to make it just a simple to show you a table, and it will be standalone panel. I will explain why. I don't want to, actually let me make it not scrollable as well, because details scrollable not always ideal, have not many records. And now let me configure the where clause for this panel. It's of course, because the panel is selected in the layout editor, you can see it first in the property sheet. And when I click configure, let me go to where clauses. So you can see there is no where clause now, and I can add new one. So first of all, let me make it related to my original sales rep. So what I will do, I will say join with related panel on the page, and I will select the sales rep record control, not one, not two, but record control. And of course, I will, by default, it knows that most likely I will relate them by the foreign key, which is sales rep ID, not by created by or updated by. That's reasonable. So I will add this where clause. Now, I also want to show only those orders which ship in the United States or United Kingdom, which is reasonable. I for some reason, I don't like German orders. I don't know why. So let's select them. We will filter by formula, and we will select the ship country to be equal to USA. Click Finish, and add another one, which will also be a formula, and the ship country will become, in this case, United Kingdom. Oops, it's not I Kingdom, it's United Kingdom, obviously. Now, last thing I want to do, I want to say it's or. So I don't want to say, of course, this won't work because it's either there or here. But now what I can do is just click on this guy, select these three members of my list, and say I want them to be in or relationship by clicking this or button over here. And finally, if I leave it like this, of course, what will happen will be USA or UK and sales rep. That's not what I want. I want to be USA or UK, so I need to group them by clicking group button. Now you see properly formed sequence of where clauses. It will be USA or UK and sales rep related to the guy. So let's do this. Let's reapply my tab container properly to these guys. And finally, let's build the page. I don't need to actually click a live preview now because it's already opened over there. I didn't close it. I'll just refresh it. All my live preview windows stay here, so what I need to do is to refresh this page. So let me do this. Okay, give it a second. Okay, so that's still my Buchanan, and I've got orders around here. And now, when I scroll down to my orders page, you can see that orders are either USA or UK, exactly like I selected. And believe me that in the real database, there are also German, France, and all other type of countries over here. That's how Query Wizard now allows you to be a bit more flexible with the where clauses. Last thing I wanted to mention is the changes to the page wizard. As Alan already said, we added a bunch of the examples over here. By the way, the same examples are, you just noticed maybe, added to the query wizard. Right here on the query wizard, when I was creating new where clause, if you noticed, we've got some examples here as well. So for example, if I want to filter by logged in user, it will already pre-populate a formula for you for logged in user. Or similarly, if I want to use session variable, it will pre-populate for you the formula for session. Well, very similar thing we did for the batch wizard as well. So in the batch wizard, you can say, I want to encrypt one of all my passwords, for example, and then right here it will pre-populate your formula with encrypt data. Of course, you might need to modify it because you are, let's say, decided to encrypt your password. So you will click Edit and select a password field from this drop-down list. I have password somewhere, right? Yes, I do have password. But the formula here already pre-populated. All you need to do is to replace this thing, our example, with the password. Now it will encrypt your password. Not that I really going to do it now, but you've got here one formula, and you will see it actually says 1. Similarly, if I add global where clause to filter by logged in user, and I would say I would need to configure it which field should be equal to logged in user, and again I can edit this and select I have in database some sales rep ID, for example, field, right? Why not? Is equal to logged in user, and again if I go back here, I will see that I've got one more member added to the batch user. So we can easily see what is configured, what is not over here. I think that covers pretty much everything. I would not try to demonstrate right now the speed improvement because then I would need to have some big Oracle database and build application, then have a stopwatch, etc. But believe me that specifically on the large schemas and especially on the Oracle large schemas, the improvements were quite sizable. We even had one customer who said it's 1 million times faster. I would not claim that, but it's noticeable. So let's go to questions.
Okay, I'll let Carol take a quick breath here, and we'll got a few questions queued up. I'll take a few here. Terry Brown says, this is fantastic in reference to the supercharged app wizard. Thanks very much. Yes, we tried our best to make it so that you could get nearly everything configured right out of the box so that your editing time is greatly reduced. Rick asks, how do you get the bottom toolbox and properties tabs? I think you're referring to the toolbox and properties tabs that were on Carol's screen. Those are docking tabs, so that's just a function of the normal Windows docking mechanism. So if you drag those around, maybe Carol can show those on his screen in a minute, but they're actually pretty easy to do. You can reposition those windows, the properties and toolbox windows kind of anywhere you want, and the tabs will appear. And I think I'll turn it over to Carol now, who's got a batch of questions queued up here.
So the question was about the tabs and the properties and the toolbox, right? Yeah. This I just put them here together to save some space, but of course you can simply click on the heading of this docking panel and move it. And if I don't want them stuck together, I can just say, you know what? Oh, actually, you know what? I need to do this. Sorry. And then I would say, sit them like this. Now they sit you see side by side. I can, of course, stack them vertically if I want. I can move it over here and say, put it vertically. So now I have them together, but they are stacked vertically. So that's completely flexible. And by the way, when you close Designer Open again, it will remember the position. So next time you will have them positioned exactly as your last session. Now, I have several questions over here. Let me go through them one by one. Where did you hide the definition of virtual primary keys in application user? This is a very, very, very good question. We actually not hide them. We removed them from there. And here is the, of course, you can say, how come? It's the main thing you always used and you didn't use anything else in application wizard, and it's a major inconvenience. But you know what? Over years, and these primary keys, virtual primary keys dialogues was here for a very long time, we noticed that unfortunately, in the among majority of our customers, actually creates more confusion than helps. The thing is that you need to be very careful when you define virtual primary key. What I mean is that virtual primary key, combination of field you define as a virtual primary key for any view or table has to be unique. And if it is not unique, you will see a bunch of different problems, such as duplicate records, not working safe on edit record, and so on, so on, so on. We noticed that when we had this dialog over here, people very often select non-unique key. For example, for, let's say, current product list or alphabetical list of products, the key would be selected as product ID. It's not right. It's not unique key for this view. So instead, we keep the functionality. Functionality didn't go anywhere, but you have to do this on a database tab where you can open your view. For example, let me take this view, and I need to include it to be able to configure. So now I've got my alphabetical list of products, and now I can select virtual primary key for this. And as I said, product ID is not enough because it also has category name over here. So you have to select combination of product ID and category ID. We believe that looking at the database tab and on the fields, you kind of a bit less prone to make a mistake of selecting the wrong combination. So we try to make it more difficult, so we will think about it. I hope that makes sense, but really this is very important matter to select properly keys. Next question. Will database views still be more efficient than query, wizard, ORs, and groups? You know, actually no. The thing is that if you want to create a view with exactly the same functionality, for example, imagine that I want to create a view where I would show all my orders only for the country United States and United Kingdom, like similar to what I did over there. So if I create such view, what will happen that internally database will execute exactly the same query to filter by those two countries. The reason that this query will be executed when you read those or when you execute the view, there is no really much difference unless you have a persistent view, basically the view which is calculated in advance and recalculated every time when you insert a record. So yes, if your views are calculated every time when you insert a record, then view is more efficient because this filtering is already done. If it is dynamic, meaning that actually the view is calculated in the moment when you read it, then it's not more efficient. So that depends on your database configuration. You can make it more efficient, yeah. Why do you recommend Internet Explorer for mobile page preview? Oh, it's very easy. It has nothing to do with what browser is running on your actual device. The problem is that, let me go back to this page. I'll show you why. It's very easy to show. So here's my page, and for example, on this page, let me see, I want to go to my, let's see, which page I do have here. Actually, I need to refresh. I want to preview, I'm thinking which page I want to preview. Maybe I want to preview some a mobile edit page. Let me give it a second. I will go and find not the categories though. I want to have edit products model. That's what I want to preview. Let me do this. So I will run yet another page in my live preview. Of course, it will build a bunch of pages again because I was dragging and dropping and adding and removing tabs a lot and changing the queries. All this needs to be built. But now it will launch this page in the live preview. Okay. And all others are still stay here. I can, if I don't want to verify how other looked, I can go back. Now you can see here the drop-down list for categories, right? And when I click on this button, you will see list of categories. All looks fine. Now, if I copy exactly this guy, the whole URL in my Google Chrome, and show you the same thing here, you still see the same drop-down list, but now, oba, not very pleasant, right? You won't see this on runtime on your Android or iOS device. Why this thing is happening is because this is actually not a real mobile browser. We're scaling your page to fit in this window. The page itself is actually has this size, but it's scaled down to fit in the special window here. The scaling works in IE for all the objects, including drop-down lists. Unfortunately, in Chrome, scaling scaling is done by means of the style sheet is not properly handled for the drop-down list. That's how Chrome behaves. So that's why I recommend to preview page in IE. Of course, on the actual device, everything will be fine because there is no scaling. It only happens because we scale it and put in the iframe. That's why we recommend to use Internet Explorer. But again, as I said, on the actual device, everything will be fine. It's just a preview. I migrated up to the 12.1 version, and add edit show files appeared to be created in the presentation layer. But the edit show pages did not appear in the menu, only add page. Of course, you won't see edit and show pages in the menu because you cannot navigate to those pages. Edit and show page required the primary key passed as a URL parameter. So for example, I can get back to my preview right here. You can see, for example, I have menu for the sales representative show table, but not a record. Why? Because the record, and I will go right now to record. Let me go first to table. You see, the table doesn't require a parameter, but to open a record, you have to pass a raw parameter. Here is the primary key passed. So you cannot have a menu pointing to a record because menu can't include a key. Key depends on which record you want to see. That's why you can see add record page. Add record page does not require any parameter, but you won't see edit or show. You can see all the table pages over here. Good improved configuration. Congratulations. Thank you very much. I do not know if is not working, but the configure for hold on. This is difficult language. But the property configure for panel field order by the choice database field order in the master page looks is not selection because best fit. We do allow you to select either best fit or the database order. And I can easily create you a page with database order, and we can see that it would be database order. So what I need to do is to change display alphabetically display in database field order. That's how it will show. But when I create drop a panel, for example, I will create a page for, let's say, let me see which one is better example. I don't remember all the orders for all the tables. I think categories. Categories, alphabetical order will be first article and article path, while in the database. So right now you see that it shows in database order. It's not alphabetical, obviously. But similarly, when you generate a page, there is another thing. You can basically go and select how do you order fields So for example, if I select categories and show table, I can configure the panel and panel field order select as the database field order right here. And when I create this page, it was a categories. One second, and go to my new page which I just created. Here is the new page, and you can see a database order. Article went to the end, and category name, description, and picture in the beginning. So yeah, it actually works. Any more?
Okay, I'll take a few while Carol reloads here. Jim says, yay, great release, many simple changes that allow more usage of wizards and eliminate the need to work around the wizard. Thanks very much. Particularly like the ability to add pages to new folders to the project from within Iron Speed Designer. You're most welcome. Next question from Oscar is, in mobile presentation layer, can I set initial page different from web presentation layer? Yes, each different application type has its own default page, if you will, for obvious reasons. You just have to right-click, and there'll be an option in there that says select as default, and that's all you need to do. VC asks, when will the new Visual Studio 2015 be supported? Well, we're actually working on that now. Our typical MO is to only release versions of Iron Speed Designer supporting various Microsoft releases after the version of the Microsoft release has been released out to the public. So until that's fully out in the public's hand, we won't release a version of Iron Speed Designer that supports that. Otherwise, we end up trying to support beta versions and release candidates and so forth, and that becomes a little problematic. Jay Benson asks, where is the formula cell in this version? Actually, if you can transfer control back to me, I will see if I can highlight that. Bear with me. Okay, here in Iron Speed Designer, I'm not actually quite sure what you're looking for. You might be looking for the Edit HTML or the cell editor. So as you can see, I'm in a cell here, and you see this little pen that appears here. If I hover over that, that says Edit HTML. If you can see that, if I click that, it pops open my HTML editor, and I can type in here whatever I want. Let me do this on, say, this picture cell. You can see the Edit HTML in the upper right corner. If I click that, you can see the code generation tag and this break tag for that, so I can go in and add anything else that I want. So that's one answer to your question. You may also be asking about, you mentioned formula cells. You might be asking about formulas for various things. The formulas are all over here in the property sheet. So if you pick a control, say this category name here, you'll see over here under Actions on the right-hand side in the property sheet. Here, Actions, this is the initialized when showing record. So if I select that and I pop this open, here's where you would enter the formula here. In this case, it's just basically saying show the category name. So if that's what you're asking about, just select the control you want and then look over here under Actions, and that's where you'll find the formula, which is different from the HTML. With that, why don't I pass it back to Carol?
And I need okay. Thank you very much. I have a bunch of questions. Where also is the group by reports web page? Oh, it's there. It's just named differently now. Of course, we try to confuse you. So, for example, so group by the page was nothing else as the page where you can have details inside the row, and here you have it. Table with details in row. But it's more flexible now. You can have either children or parents or both. So, for example, in this particular case, I can create a page which will have in my collapsible panel I can have parents as the categories, and children as, for example, order details. It can also have many-to-many at the same place. Before, group by only would include children. Now you can do it either way. Or if you don't like it to be in the collapsible panel, you can, of course, do details below. And in fact, I don't even need to create it because I do have the pages like these already created, I believe. So we can easily look. Maybe not, I don't remember. I created a bunch of pages. Don't remember which one. Well, if I don't, of course, I can create another one. Oh, no, it's here. So, for example, right now I can see my orders panel, and it's exactly your group by. Here is your children. But again, as I said, and you can collapse it, of course, and expand another row, whatever you need, and of course, the header stays. But again, you have flexibility now to have your group by configured to your liking. It could be parents, children, combination of them, many-to-many, anything. On version 12, in application wizard for tables, when we select edit, show other pages, you cannot use the same check for other tables. So you need to select them one by one. Yes, this is true. And I'll explain why. When I explain it, you'll understand that it's the only way. Because imagine that, for example, for the my products, I selected my table page, which is you call group by with order details, and then I selected, for example, my add record page without any details and my edit page with maybe a child. Okay. Then I'm about to create orders panels, so I go to orders. What would happen if I would selected the same 3 page types? Well, which detail panels should we pre-select? We can pre-select the same because obviously it's a different table. There is no more concept of default selection. It's all selections is done by you, and that's one of the main advantages. You can configure exactly as you want. So what do we do? Don't select them at all? Well, if we don't select them at all, you will click in several tables, and you will get all of them without any dependent tables, no masters, no details, just only your table. That's not what you want. So the only way how you can configure your dependent panels, being children or parents or many-to-many, is actually to select them here. But to select them here, you need to actually select the actual page type. So no more magic. Magic before, unfortunately, was selecting those details magically. And again, on the complex schemas with a lot of foreign key relationships, there was a lot of times users was complaining that those panels which we selected are not exactly those which they would like to select, not surprisingly, and they need to spend the time on each and every page, going there, deleting those panels, dragging and dropping other panels, configuring them. That's a lot of time wasted. We believe it's better if you spend extra 5 minutes once in application wizard configuring those details and masters you really want. No, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's literally extra 5 minutes. But after that, you're done, and your page already basically ready to be in production. How to filter many-to-many page by URL parameter or logged-in user? It's only would be possible if you write code customization. It's not available out of the box. And the reason for them is the nature of many-to-many page. It's actually not really the table. It's relationship coming from one table pointing to another table. So basically your page shows all available records from non-related table through the relationship of one common table. It may sound confusing, but it's not the same as for any other panel, and that's why you can't really filter in the same way as other panels. How do you add total number of records to pagination of modern themes? Oh, it's very easy. You don't use the same pagination, you just use the different paginations. We provide you a bunch of paginations over here. You can see all of them. And if you want to have total records, you can see here is pagination, which is called just pagination. And it will have total pages over here. Just do simple thing. The easiest way to switch pagination all over for all your pages in already existing application is just to rename. Currently, all your pages reference to pagination modern. You can see that easily if you go to any table control. And if you look at the pagination, it let me make it a bit bigger. Actually, it's either infinite pagination as, oh, sorry, I moved something. It's either infinite pagination right here, or it's would be, it was model. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong page. I don't want to go to model. I want to go to non-model. On non-model, on my table control, the pagination would be pagination modern right here. You can see pagination modern. To change it across the whole application to different pagination, just rename this thing as a pagination modern and you're done. So, or of course, you can configure the pagination control by adding a button, etc. But this is the easiest way. That's why we have here all type of paginations. You just switch them. Can you remind me where the configuration file is to show mobile in IE? My default browser is Chrome, and mobile doesn't show in there at all. It's a regular web page. If you run the live preview, it should not be doing so. However, the configuration file called designer.config. If you go to designer folder, where it's installed somewhere in your computer, my computer is also installed somewhere. Hold on. So the program files, where are my program files? Here. Program files, Iron Speed Designer, and then you go to Designer, and then you will have Designer config file. Right there, there's a bunch of different keys. And one of the keys would be default browser somewhere over here, which is by default is IE, but you can switch it. But it's actually it need to default directory. Hold on. Yes, short dialog application tab. You might need to add a new key. So basically, you can force it to IE, but basically it will use IE always unless you don't have it on the computer. I'm surprised though that you're saying that you have problems with Chrome. We use Chrome. I just showed you Chrome perfectly works if you use live preview. Is Iron Speed Designer ready for Windows 10 and for creating universal Windows platform apps? No, as Alan just mentioned, we did not release Windows 10 support yet. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, the universal Windows platform apps is a bit different issue, and of course we'll work on that too. But again, it would be later. By the way, Windows 10 is not released yet, so I don't know what you're talking about. Today is what? 28th. Today is 28th. Release date is tomorrow. On databases, when setting a field in a view to become a virtual primary key, the view automatically becomes updatable and speed. Yes. Has this been fixed in 12.1? All the customer reported bugs were fixed in 12.1. I cannot memorize every single one, but technically, view is updatable if it's you have the virtual primary key. That is correct. And that's one of the reasons why would you create virtual primary key. However, if your view is set up to be not updatable, then it won't be updatable. Basically, update to view comes to the underlying tables. When I migrate an older application to version 12.1, will it automatically change to fixed table header? No, it will not. In fact, I will say even more. If you create any table which is not fixed header, after that you cannot change it to fixed header. It's only for the new panels. So when you create a panel, you can have it as a fixed header or not. After you created it, it's cast in stone. It can't be changed anymore. That's why for migrated, nothing will be changed. The reason for that is actually a fixed header includes some sizable changes in the layout itself. It's not just one option, it's a layout changes, meaning that it has different regions, different styles, etc., etc. So for now, it's only for the new table. You can create new tables scrolled, new tables non-scrolled, but existing one doesn't change. Where is the property to fix the header row on a table page? What do you mean fix? Fixed header. The property is in two places. First of all, when you drag any panel or create any panel for table, of course, you have configure button, or you can double click either way. Right here it says scrolling. This right now set to yes, but you can set it to no. The same thing goes for this table as well, of course, and for this table as well, of course, but they are separate properties. So basically, if you set in one place, you need to also set in different place. Or when I drag and drop any panel, it goes to some page, and I'll pretend dragging and dropping. When I drag and drop any panel and select it as a table, on the second step, there are same set of options, and again, here the scrolling option. So that's where it is. Okay.
Okay, I'll take a few questions here while Carol reloads. Jay Benson asks, can the footer accommodate images other than the copyright text? Yes, it can. You can put anything in a footer that you want. If you go into the layout editor, for example, in the footer, then you can drag any panel onto the footer that you want. I always like baseball scores or stock prices myself, but you may have something else in mind. You ask, can it be put much further down the line on the application page? By that, I assume you mean put the footer down visually very, very far. Yes, that's a style sheet issue generally. You can also fix that in the footer in the layout editor if you want to put some space above the footer, for example. So to do any of this, the easiest thing to do is just navigate to the footer portion of the page. You'll find that in the master page. There's a header, a footer, and a menu and a content. There's kind of 4 parts to the master page on most of those, and so just go into the footer and put in there whatever you want. You also ask, can it be made to be fixed inside of dynamic with data rendered by the page? I assume you mean, can you put live data in there? And the answer is yes. You know, if you, like I say, I have a table of baseball scores or live stock prices, you can certainly put that in there. So the footer really behaves no differently than any other portion of the page, you know, namely the place where you typically put the content. You can put content in a header or footer as well. There's really no differentiation. Lee asks, show me how to make one-page landing page for my hundreds of domains. That's actually pretty easy. All you would do is use Iron Speed Designer to create a single page. So you'd use the application wizard as Carol has demonstrated here. In this case, you would just pick one page. It could be any type of page that you care to create. Just depends on what you want to display on that page. Then go to your domain name registrar like GoDaddy or register.com or whomever, and simply point all of those domains to that one page. Presumably you'd put this page out on a server someplace. And for example, at Iron Speed, we have a number of domains ourselves that are for different countries or different spellings of Iron Speed, and those all point to ironspeed.com. And then under ironspeed.com, we have our application, our website. So that's pretty easy to do, and what you put on the page is anything that you want there. Lee also asks, I want to offer email addresses or vanity email addresses with this demo. Okay, I'm not sure which demo you're referring to. Show me how I can make email database to sell, rent, lease domain addresses, please. Well, I can't tell you how to rent or sell email addresses, but making a database is pretty simple. You just decide which database you want, which could be Microsoft Access, it could be Microsoft SQL Server. Go into that database's management tool like SQL Server Manager and create a table to hold those email addresses or those domain names, kind of whatever it is that you're doing, which I don't quite understand, but you would just create a table there. and then point Iron Speed Designer at that database to create whatever page or pages to administer that table full of domains or email addresses or whatever, and you're good to go. So it's kind of the same way that you'd build any Iron Speed Designer application. It really doesn't matter. Just start by creating one or more database tables using your database creation tool, whichever tool you use for whichever type of database you prefer, and then you build the application with Iron Speed Designer by pointing it at that database table or a set of database tables to create the application. And then if your goal is to put that on the web, just go to your domain name registrar and have them point that domain name at that application running on your production server environment, wherever that might be, and you're good to go. With that, let me return back to Carol, who's got a few more questions.
Thank you, Ron. So first of all, before I continue with the questions, I've got some questions related to some problems of configuration. Let's say there's a question from Alejandro about the configuration of his Android application and deployment, etc. I really don't have time to go through the specific problems on your computer. I always recommend in this particular case you need to open support case, and we will be glad to help you and explain how to fix any problem you have. Of course, assuming you have a support contract with us, which could be useful in this particular situation. But I cannot really go through any specific problem on your specific installation on the webinar. Now I have several questions about functionality. First one, in details below, type page, how to get parent primary key in the formula editor. It's very simple. So, for example, if I would have here let me see which page I'll better to ruin. Here's my, let's say, sales rep table, right? So I need to do two things. First of all, I need to drag and drop something related, and second, I need to have a button. The button should be needed to select specific role. So you go to your toolbox, and in the toolbox, you find buttons which are available for this particular guy. And the button would be called Update Panels button, right here. You see Update Panels button. Drag and drop it, maybe to the same place where you have other buttons. And now, when this button is already present, what you can do is you can, for example, have some related panel over here, and let me drag and drop here, for example, I don't know, orders for this specific sales representative, right? So I will get the orders, I'll drop it, and again, it would be detailed panel of the sales rep table control, which field it should be related. Of course, in this case, it's reasonable to relate to sales rep ID, not to created by. And it would be basic table of all the orders. I don't want to change anything. Traditionally, I don't like scrolling on my detail panels, but you can have a different opinion on that. I don't want to save it as default. So basically, that's about it. Let's run it. I would need actually to close some windows. I have so many live preview windows already opened, and I think maybe it's a bit too much. I would need to close some. Don't like that many browser windows, although of course you can keep them. I just, when the tabs becomes too small, I am nervous. So, for example, right here, right now, who is selected is Nancy. You might not see because usually on the WebEx, those color changes. This button actually has different color than this one. Believe me, just on this. But anyway, you see there are the orders, all of them created by Nancy right here. But for example, if I select instead of Nancy, let's say Angelica. Angelica don't have any orders. I'm sorry. Angelica, how come? Let me scroll to some real person like this guy. I need to make my bigger window. Let's be big table. So I'm going to, let's say, Buchanan, and now you've got this, it's Fuller, not Buchanan, Fuller. And you can see orders here changing. When I select the Fuller, I've got orders for Fuller. So that's how it depends. Just need to have button. Can you add a new feature to the application options so we can select if the field label text is created from resource file? It's already there. I mean, I don't need to add anything. It's there forever. you go to databases, and for example, I want my category name to go from resource file. Here's my label. Just select a formula, and instead of this, remove that, right-click, functions, environment, resource, and then specify a resource value. Simple as that. All the labels for this particular field will be taken from resource value since this moment. By the way, we have one more option which we didn't mention today, but it's related specifically to this thing. You can have labels by default to kind of optimize where, for example, for category name we'll add a space, or for example, for sales rep ID we'll make it a sales representative, or you can make to have them to be exactly as they're in database without any optimization. And the option for that is right here in the configure application options. It says on the for list optimize label names. If you set it no and rebuild, all your labels will change. So you can do it on the existing application. How many levels of child panels can we create in one page? You can reliably to have 3. After 3, number 4 level, I mean, if you have a relationship of grandparent, grandparent, parent, and child, level number 4 might have problems of saving data and refreshing as well. So 3 realistically. In the gallery pages, how to show images from the file system where their URL is in table field. It's basically pretty simple to do. If you look on the gallery page right here, for example, here's my category gallery. This field is actually populated by formula. So let's open it and make it a bit bigger so it's easier to read. You can see what it does. It calls special function which get image with the text. And then right here is href to the image. In this case, href actually goes to our special page called modified direct URL, which creates virtually URL for the image. So it goes to table, retrieves the primary key from the table, retrieves the record, and then calls modified direct URL to create this particular virtual URL. But you can replace this with your actual URLs. You don't call this modified direct URL, just put here the formula which will retrieve URL for your particular page, literally field from it. So you can, of course, it's formula. You can call this something like this. So if my path is saved like this, you can put it there. I don't have path for image here. I have only for article. But imagine that this article path is your image path, actually URL. You just put it here instead of all this thing after the href. So pretty easy. I think I run out of questions.
Okay, I have one last question here, so let this serve as the 2-minute warning. So if you have any other questions, now is the time to get them in. Jay Benson asks, great, coming from version 8.02, I can see that forgotten password has been implemented. How easy is it to introduce new registration of users to an online registration application? Register users online. Well, actually, that's quite simple. If you think about what you're really trying to do, you've got a users table in your database that's a list of all of your users, and you want to be able to add a new user to that list. Well, that's just simply a add new record page. It's an add record page, because what you're going to do is put up a form for this new user to fill in his name, email address, password, everything that you typically would collect in that table, and add it to that table. And that's all you're really doing. So just go into the application wizard and use the app wizard to create an add record page pointed at your users table, and you're good to go. Looks like the 2-minute warning did scare up a few more questions, so I'll turn back over to Carol to answer.
I have a question from Jim regarding the update panel to a page. Yeah, you can have update panel on a page. As usual, you have a page section right here for every page, no matter where you are, and then you can set smooth panel update true or false. Iron Speed Designer adds only one update panel for the whole page, and this is done for the reason is that to save data on the page with the child and detail, child and parent or master detail, if they are in different update panels, there's a danger that you save only detail or only master and everything will break after this. So we surround with one update panel, but it works as good as multiple update panels. And last question from Dan I have, could you please make a small demo of 3-level page add record? Of course I can. I'm not sure what will be different from what I just shown with the my sales rep, which I heavily modified, but I can of course drop here another guy. That should take 1 second. So basically right here I have one guy, and then related to this my orders, and then for example I will have related to my orders. Oh, actually I have 3 levels already. I showed you the 1 level is this parent of this record and the child of this record. That's exactly the one I showed. It has 3 levels. So yeah, bingo.
Okay, we have one last comment from Rick, who says, "Nice update, guys. Thanks. You're most welcome." And it looks like that is the last question here. So I want to thank you all for attending today, and do want to encourage you to download and get started with Designer version 12.1. I think you'll find it much faster and much more powerful than our earlier releases, and certainly a lot easier to use. With that, thanks very much, everyone, and have a great day.